Hey, it's the Foster's After Show on AfterBuzz TV. Tonight we're breaking down Season 5, Episode 15, called Mother's Day, and here to help us do it is Sherri Saum and Bradley Bredeweg. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, and happy Mother's Day!
Happy
Oh
Mother's
my
Day.
God! Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We've got Sherri and Bradley in the studio.
Don't forget about Shandon. We had Shandon.
Yes,
Wow.
I brought champagne to liven the party.
I got Mom's night out. She's getting wild. Watch out. Bradley, just...
You can't, trust me.
Okay, fine. Let's do some quick intros, and then we'll hop into the episode breakdown. Of course, we have Sherri Saum, as we said, hi. And we have Bradley Bredeweg, hi. I'm Jeffrey Masters. Hannah?
I'm Hannah Prichard. Y'all can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @TheHotChatDude.
I'm Jillian Leff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jillian Leff. And also, as always during the show, please hashtag ABTV Fosters. I will be following along. You could also tag me directly. These two are ready to answer questions.
And I'm Stephanie Giorgi. You can follow me on Twitter at Stephanie Giorgi, but find me on Instagram at @TheStephanieGiorgi. I'll holler at you there.
So obviously we are winding down this series. This to me felt like a beta finale episode.
Yeah.
It had all the emotional highs and lows that I
I just
needed.
got chills when you said that.
Oh my God. Should I say it
Good
again?
chills or bad chills?
Like, it just like, I don't know.
I know.
Bittersweet chills.
It's kind of an emotional time. I mean, we were talking with Bradley before we watched the episode, and we here have recapped all the episodes that the audience has seen. So for us, when you guys hit 100 episodes, we would have hit 100 episodes, and it's kind of like we've grown up together. Like when I first moved to LA, this is the first after show that I did.
Wow.
I met Jeff in 2013, and then Steph came along, and then Hannah came along, and we've grown and have this sort of like family friendship together, and it's going to be weird not to see them every week. Just like you guys, it's going to be weird to not see you on the screen. Yeah.
It is. It's like a college, almost more than college length of time. And that's, anyone who's gone to college is like, that's a huge growth. You bond with people. It's like a life-changing situation, and that's how, it feels.
It's an era.
And
It's
we were saying
absolutely an era.
Sherri was on our, I think, season 1, episode 1 after show.
Yes.
Episode
That
1?
was before you were a mom.
I know.
Yes.
I feel like I brought my kids to the last episode that we shot on Warner Brothers.
And they're like
because
6 feet tall.
They're
They're like the biggest
they're in
creatures.
college,
Yeah.
yes. But I feel like they were part of the thing too, because I became a family with them, with the Foster's family at the same time, and the producers were so supportive of my pregnancy, and I just felt like it was fitting to have them with me there, just to
We were hiding you behind canoes, remember that?
Oh, so good. I remember all the scenes.
Yeah.
It wasn't a canoe, Bradley. It was a kayak.
was a
So
kayak,
just
I'm sorry.
let's.
I'm sorry,
I
you're
wasn't
right.
that big.
Wait, did that correspond with your character's pregnancy?
It did, but I think Lena was not as far.
She was not as
Yeah.
far along.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's wild. So you guys have already shot the finale episodes, right?
We're almost done.
Almost.
Yes. We have a little bit more to shoot,
Would-
but it's not in Los Angeles.
Oh.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We're finally getting the White House visit I wanted. I was predicting that all along.
Omarosa, right here. What?
I was gonna say, when is Justina back? Is she gonna ruin things in the finale?
Gosh.
Is that weird, Bradley?
Yeah, it's been a very long goodbye, I have to
Oh
say.
my goodness.
We kind of started with the 100th episode, I feel like. That was
Yeah.
super emotional, and we all gathered as a cast and crew, and lots of speeches, and a lot of tears, and a lot of celebration. And I think from that point forward, we've had these goodbye milestones.
Yes, and Peter Page was saying like death by paper cut.
Yeah.
This is the last this. Oh, this is the last time we'll be in this set. We'll be and every time they do that, I'm like blah 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 blah. I just don't want to hear it. I just want to pretend that set is going to be up in perpetuity at Warner
And
Brothers.
it came down today.
I don't want to hear
I
that,
know,
Bradley. I just
know.
told you.
Oh my
None of us
gosh.
could walk even close to
I know.
the
I walked
stage.
by it because I was there for the thing, and I just couldn't look. I was like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
us including and the fans, we've been following everything on Instagram on all the stories.
yeah.
So it's like every time I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard.
Yeah.
Sierra's and Maia's post so well, like they're just killer.
And we're also trying to decode things.
Right.
Exactly. As we see, like where you're shooting,
Right.
what's
We've
going
planted a
on.
few hints, so
Yeah.
it's like a little game.
I definitely have it figured out. I'm not going to repeat it again while you guys are here, but like
You're pretty good at that.
I definitely know a location.
Oh, right, right.
You guys need to watch back, maybe like 3 episodes ago. I said it.
Oh.
Whoa. Every time that we have Bradley in, we kind of marvel in the fact that there was not a chemistry read for Steph and Lena's characters in the casting process. That's correct, right?
No,
we got
There
them
was?
together. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you cast Sherri, then you're finding another mom.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
We found Sherri and we're like, we're done. Like, that's it. I mean, she had to come. When you go to a network, you have to bring in a couple of people. You just sort of have no choice. But we already knew, and then she killed it. And then when we brought Teri
I remember getting
in,
the email that night. So will you be available for a chemistry read with? And I looked to see like all the little details, and it was like Teri Polo.
Oh my god.
Pops in, meet the parents.
Yeah,
swaps-
exactly.
So geeked out, and then I met her, and I'm like, oh dear, because she was so wild, and she, in this chemistry read, she was just saying stuff and not going on the script. I'm like, she's not saying the stuff that's on the script, and like joking with executives. I'm like, she's joking with the executives.
You're like, you can do that?
Job. Like, she was so balls out.
She's so cool, right?
And then exactly how you see her now, and then the rest is history. And then I just fell in love with her.
Can you imagine going through this process for the last 5 years and not connecting like you did?
Well, I can, because I've been, like a lot of actors in Hollywood, I've been on plenty of shows where you're like, oh gosh, that person, and even though it looks like on screen you might have great chemistry, you hate each other. I've been I've been there. I've been there, and so. I always have my guard up when I'm shooting something new, because I've been scarred. I know that feeling, but that freaking woman just chipped away at my cold stone heart. Like, she makes me laugh. I literally need like adult Depend diapers, because TMI. But we roll on the floor laughing every day.
Oh my God! So is it nerve-wracking to be now an actor looking for work, or is that gonna be exciting?
It's exciting for me. I feel like this show has been the gift of my life. I don't think that it could ever be topped. But I don't make me cry. But I love, it's excruciating. I also love the audition process, because I love what I do, and I love to become someone else for even those 2 minutes that you're in front of these people who are trying to create a story, and not go in there as like this desperate person who wants a job, like to go in there and try to make their world what they want it to be, and like collaborate and be, it's so exciting for me. So I hope I don't have to do it for a long time, but it's fun for me. It's fun.
That's amazing.
That was.
And we were talking about like the finale episode and writing that, Bradley. Was that like I was gonna say mind F word, but to like figure out how to end this show?
Yeah, I mean, it was a group effort. We have our entire room to really figure out what those moments need to be, and what felt right and organic out of what we had already created in terms of the trajectory of all the characters. But I think, Joanna wrote the finale, and I think it's one of the best episodes we've done, right?
She's amazing.
Yeah,
She wrote tonight's episode.
She wrote tonight's as well.
And you directed, right?
I did direct tonight.
Fantastic.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Killing it.
When we sort of pick our slots ahead of time during this, right before we enter into the season, and I like doing the middle episode, because I always feel like there's something really sort of heartfelt about that episode, sort of every season that we do. And I immediately went to Joanna and I said, you have to write this episode. I need to direct your words, and she did.
And you could tell, like, people on Twitter, as you probably all know, are not shy, and you can just tell when it's just like that was a great episode, or when it was like, oh my God, my life has changed forever. Yeah. And that's the feeling, just in the quick moments I've had to read like social media tonight. That's the feeling tonight. It's just like, holy crap, you guys just killed it, and Bradley and Joanna, you guys just. So I can't wait to really sit and watch it tonight. But yeah.
Get tissues, girl.
Yeah, and I know that I
Yeah.
speak for all of us that we light up as soon as Annie Potts comes back for the
Oh
season.
my God.
Totally.
We're like, oh, it's the Annie Potts episode. We're so excited.
She's our queen.
She is
Yeah,
amazing.
She's wild.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is she like that
feels
offset?
grandma.
She is.
And she's got the best advice, and she's so down to earth, and she's shooting another show right on our lot, like 2 feet away from Foster's, which is crazy. Young
Sheldon. Yeah.
So it's like she's kind
Right,
of always
yeah.
in our little orbit. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
And her husband works on the show too, right? Or has worked.
He directed
Did.
episode
Early on.
1B, the first episode of 1B.
Oh my God, this family affair.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting that Tess told Annie Potts, Sharon, that she was a lesbian.
It's someone of wisdom, someone who's older, who's experienced,
Someone who is like open, and I don't know. I think that Tess probably like had a conversation with her and thought like, wow, this is like the woman that I want to be, or this is the attitude that I want to have towards life, and she's so carefree and fun and easy about things.
Oh, I wasn't surprised that she opened up to her. I was surprised that she actually used that label lesbian and to just say like, I'm questioning it, I'm figuring it out, I might be. It's all secondhand from Annie.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of assumed that she didn't say straight out.
Afterwards, because then Steph says to her, she's like, oh, so you're just going to tell my mom and not tell me? Or she says it to her mom, and her mom's
Right.
like, you know, people open up to me. But I don't know. I'm curious, too, if she said, like, oh, yeah, I am. She probably just said that I'm thinking
Deleted
about
scenes. We need that. I need to know the lingo, okay?
We didn't shoot that scene, but
I know.
yeah.
But you know how it is. So you get into a cab and you start just like blah, telling
right.
people like who you
'Cause
feel
it's
comfortable
safe
with, and it's
almost.
safe, and it's
And they
just-
were drinking.
And they were drinking. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
all
true.
I
kinds of
love
different
drinking.
Clearly.
I
Is this
don't.
about
Here's another commercial for Stand On.
Yeah, and then we find out too, flashing forward in the episode, that Annie Potts has had experiences.
Of course.
As she
Are you
said.
surprised by that?
Not
That's what's beautiful about getting older is when you start realizing that's why people say you'll know when you get older.
Yes.
You literally just live through things, you know?
While I loved all of the humor that she brought to the episode, my favorite part personally was finding out how she felt when
Yes.
Steph was growing up, because we don't see that side of things when she's so outwardly just like flamboyant about everything and just so overly positive. And really, like, if you have a more, let's say, serious person like Steph, you know, she thought that she was like quirky and like, oh, I have the quirky and weird mom, or, you know, like she's different and she has a different attitude towards things, and I'm going to gravitate towards dad because he's like strict and stern and he's who I need to make proud. And it was just, I needed that. Like, that was nice.
I thought it was beautiful because I just had this conversation with my mother where she said, I was kind of saying the same thing, and she's like, Stephanie, you know, a lot of people think that I'm cold-blooded, like, or like a bitch and everything else, and you guys run and cater to your father, but the thing is that moms hold the burden of trying to be strong as well. We're already, I think, emotional and this and that, but I think there's I remember doing a role once and I had to be the mom, and I was like, I don't want to be the mom, it's dull. And then the teacher told me, like, the mother's role is never dull. You don't know their secrets, you don't know their life, you don't know what they've had to know to just take care of the family. And it was just so perfect when she said that. It made me sad because, like she said, they ganged up on her, but because she had to keep up her happiness and her go-lucky, you know, self, that she didn't say anything to make her daughter happy, so that her daughter and her husband could have the relationship
What a
that
sacrifice.
they didn't really have. Exactly.
Yeah, to go, I know you guys are beating me up, but just you guys bond. You need that.
Because they didn't have it. It was sad but beautiful to see
mom.
that. That's
And
a
we all
mom.
have our own experiences. It's like, even as parents, your feelings get hurt sometimes, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
No matter what. And you've got to do whatever you can to sort of put it away every now and then.
Sometimes
or
my
most
son's
of the time.
like, Mama, no quiero a mama. I don't want mommy. And I'm just
Oh.
like, and I, you know, put on the thing like, okay, I know you don't right now, but it's I'm like,
I actually read this really funny article the other day about how kids are the biggest a-holes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of true. Like, you know, like, I'm going to stare at you and I'm going to throw my binky on the floor. In defiance.
They
Oh, it's
are.
all about testing
I
the
know
boundaries.
you're going to pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's funny.
I just really appreciated this scenes and storylines with Steph, because when a character comes out of the closet, everyone knows their sexuality and like it's done. But really, like, that's when the work is kind of beginning. And
for
it's
sure.
still
Good
take
point.
many years to figure that out. And to see an adult queer character on TV saying that they're still dealing with the trauma from coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before, actually.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot in the room.
Really?
A lot. It's a big conversation in the room for the gay and lesbian writers. And I think, you know, it depends on also sort of the era that you grew up in. And I still find myself walking the street sometimes, you know, whether it's the Grove or, you know, downtown LA or something, and, you know, my boyfriend's younger than me. And so he grew up in a different era, and he'll just grab my hand out of nowhere.
Yes.
But I still find myself kind of looking around.
Of course.
And it's because that's the moment in time that I grew up. And it's very different for someone of his generation. And so I think we do bring that stuff to the table, and we still have to kind of put work on that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and really face it.
I've noticed that also. The even in discussion when people bring that up and how they're like no, and they defend it so strong, like you shouldn't see it this way, and it's like, but you didn't grow up the way we did. Like that was not normal. And I could see Steph almost being jealous. Not jealous, but it's like unfair that you get to come out and it's so easy.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've heard someone say like, oh, how'd you come out? Like, well, I said it and they knew, and then they threw a party, and then they're like, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
Like so angry because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
It's so heavy. So
And-
that was really nice to see Steph just get mad about it because she's allowed to be.
Yeah, and I feel like every year of my 20s, I thought like, oh, I'm finally, like, I've figured it out. I'm okay with my sexuality. And then the next year I felt that way. And then the next year I was like, oh, now I'm okay with it. And now I'm like in my late 20s, and I'm like, oh, okay, no, I'm maybe okay with that.
Jeff, I have to say I've seen that in you.
Oh, really?
So much from when we first met, so much more conservative and like quiet about it. And look what podcast you have now.
Would you like to plug it now?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean my award-winning podcast, LGBTQ&A? My New York Times best-selling podcast? No, it was mentioned they were Times, and now people called it New York Times bestseller. Wow, thank you so much. Great plug. Someone named Peter Page was on it last year. Okay, fine, enough about it.
We've
And
not
yet-
been on it. Have we been on it?
I
I don't
have
think
not.
so.
I-
Yeah.
Well,
Oversight.
the podcast is not
He's just
over yet.
saying.
Put me on the list.
You're not queer.
She just plays one on TV.
Don't know that. Exactly. That's not fair.
No.
You've just had more like on-screen same-sex kisses than anybody.
She's had experience.
Ooh, do tell.
I say everyone's a little queer.
That's right. I believe it.
Yes.
And you know what? When you could admit that, it's like you're not bounded to like BS because it just like allows like, oh, it's normal. I feel like that's the thing when people can't just say that. Sorry, I know you were just joking, but
Oh no, but it's true. We've talked about it on the show before.
Yeah,
like you
like,
kind of started.
I did. I was saying
Yeah.
that like when I could finally say that, I'm like, oh, I think I'm a little queer, like curious, or I don't mind. It's just whatever the energy and like the feeling is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's all it is. There's nothing more to it than just
Right.
saying it and accepting
Yes.
it.
Totally.
I kissed a girl. I liked it.
Yeah.
Slightly off topic, but you mentioned the queer writers in your room. Do you have any trans writers?
We don't. No.
Okay.
We don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you say yet?
I mean, they're going to be doing many, many more projects.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I
We
asked.
consult with GLAAD all the time, though. We really do use them as a resource. They've been really great.
I think it shows, but also like I see a ton of content with trans storylines, and no one handles them as well as you guys do.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I
look,
really mean that because it's a massive deal in our day and age with like the treatment and representation of trans people.
Right. Thank you. I mean, that means a lot, and I think we all, as a staff, work really hard to make sure that that's the case. And I think 90% of the time, get there. And if we don't, then we'll talk to our actor, and he's very open and honest about what he feels is truth, and perhaps a little too written.
Wow.
That's lovely.
Yeah. It's true
Yeah.
because every other time I always see, and it's like not to be rude, but it's kind of corny, and I love that you don't make this like transgender life so dramatic. It's just like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not really the case.
Or
you
they
know?
focus on the transition, which you guys
Right.
didn't have to do,
Right.
and didn't do.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, but we wanted to get like far beyond that and tell just real, distinct human stories.
Right.
And this really great relationship that he has with
Yeah.
Callie, and Elliot's amazing. He's an open vessel.
He's a heartthrob on the
Yeah,
show.
it's such
Oh my God! Isn't he the sexiest thing in the
all
whole
like-
world?
babe. Yeah.
I know.
His every time he smiles, like when he does his like he does this like he's
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm always like, damn.
Yeah.
And,
see you.
and to craft a character on TV that is a heartthrob and transgender is radical in the history of LGBTQ representation. So it's a massive, massive deal and accomplishment.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I think it's
We're very
huge.
proud of
And
it.
even like going back to the Jimena and Callie scene when
Yes.
Jimena's like, I'm gay, you didn't know? Like, and it wasn't like this big old and she's like, no, I didn't know. Like, whatever, just go on
Go
with
on,
life.
right.
Be you. Be
Also,
you.
if you're gonna come out to somebody, come out to like somebody like Callie.
Yeah.
Queer brothers, queer mothers.
So we have a lot of people weighing in on Twitter, but one actually really stuck out to me. Vinny,
Aw.
Bradley's boyfriend.
Hi,
He
babe.
said, "Tell B the jacket looks great on camera."
Thank you. He picked it out for me today.
Vinny is winning with
Thank
the
you for
suggestion.
watching,
Thanks,
Vinny.
Vinny, give Gertie a kiss for me.
Aw.
Gertie.
She's the best thing in the whole world.
She is.
Oh, we have to also just mention briefly during the gift exchange on Mother's Day, this speech from Jesus.
Oh god.
That's why I was like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it was so good. I was gonna be so mad if one of you didn't cry because it was brilliant. Oh,
It's
sweet.
It's interesting with his character specifically. Like, we've seen so many ups and downs since Noah joined the show, and this scene especially, this episode when he said what he needed to say, I personally am so excited to see what he does beyond this show.
He's incredible.
He's
Because
really incredible.
I've seen him in other things. I watch all the stuff on Netflix, and I'm like, oh, Noah's in this movie. I'll watch this movie. Or like, oh, this cast member's in this. And I'm just excited to see him where he goes. All these young actors, we've watched them grow up,
Yeah.
and I'm excited.
I'm in love with them. You guys
Yeah.
don't know how much I'm in love with these kids. Just the most beautiful souls. Just Noah, to come in, when you're replacing another character, what an awkward thing, and then you get all this weird hate online, and he's just so open and weird and amazing and fun and surprising and just.
He handled it like a gentleman. He really, he's been a gentleman the whole time.
Totally.
And we were having this conversation about him today, literally, when we were shooting something that we're not supposed to talk about. That he's a movie star. There's something about him that he's so truthful and honest, and he's just himself, and there are no apologies, and that's what I love about him.
So amazing.
He's also a babe, so that's
He's a babe. We were also talking about that too.
I love it.
You know who else is a babe? Is David Lambert. I'm
Yes.
so cougary and weird, especially because I'm his mom in some ways, but his beautiful blue eyes, and he's just the most humble, and he's funny as AF, and is that what they say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Funny AF, and humble, and and his acting, and he had that scene with Teri when he played piano for her, and I was shadowing that episode, I think, with Lee, and I was just sitting there at the monitors just bawling because he's so simple in what he does.
I was just gonna say his subtlety and everything. I almost feel like he would, if I had to work with him, he'd be a little intimidating because he just seems so he
so
knows what he's
simple.
doing.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
Just
He's
very
the most
controlled,
approachable
grounded.
person on the planet. He really
he is
is.
just-
And
he's Puerto Rican, right?
nothing but love. He
Puerto
is.
Rican.
Yeah.
Pero no habla español, pero
Oh, yo.
está bien. Está bien. We forgive him.
I don't know what that means.
It's about your jacket.
Yeah. Thanks, Vinny.
You're funny.
He is funny.
Thank you. Before we move off this, I just want to ask Vinny what he thinks about my jacket. Feel free to tweet to Jillian. Okay, last thing about Steph, though. She does have this breakdown that we see that causes the conversation between Annie Potts and her. I think that if we were beginning the season going to say which character is least likely to have a breakdown, we probably would vote Steph.
Yeah.
And so we see this, and it's earned, and it's amazing. And I just wanted to officially say that I no longer think that Steph's going to die.
Right.
That prediction's off the table.
Have you heard
You
that
really
they've
thought
been
that she was
Yeah,
going to
we
die?
thought-
Absolutely not.
Well,
Hannah started it.
we discussed it.
No.
You know, yeah, for like 4 shows
I just
now.
don't like making boring predictions.
Okay, but your dad agreed with me. He messaged me and said, I
We
think
would
it's
be
gonna
the most
Steph, too.
cruel people on the planet if we killed Steph at the end of our final season. I mean, we'd never work again. It's,
The finale.
yeah.
Like another dead lesbian on TV. Great.
Well, there's
My
that too.
favorite.
Yeah. That
just-
we would never
no,
go
no,
there.
No, I
Because
never.
we'll hear from some women. It's like we have a couple Twitter followers that are very passionate,
You do.
and I love them and I respect them. But
But they'd be like, "What's up?"
we
with
have
that?
a lot coming at us sometimes.
Yes.
I have always thought, Teri is amazing at what she does, but that scene specifically of the breakdown, we
This
talked
was a
about it on the
show
show
class.
before. I suffer from anxiety. I know many of you guys do out there, and it really is like you don't even know what to think. You don't know what to say. You can't move. And the way that her mom handled it was so wonderful and grounding.
Again, a mom having to not freak out because look what's happening to your daughter.
And she
in
knew
front of you.
exactly what to do, and that made me shed a tear. That it's like you always have to remember that your mom knows
Yeah.
exactly what to do, even if she doesn't know what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
She
Don't
knows.
underestimate her.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's in the Mother's Day episode. It's like if you're lucky enough to have a mom that's in your life, that was present in your life, all of the heartbreaking moments of my life, the first person I think of to go to is my mom to this very day, and so they're
And that's incredibly lucky that you're able to.
Yes.
That's what I mean. If we're lucky
Absolutely.
enough to
Yeah.
have that person in our life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, I really appreciate the little exercise because I feel like if I have those moments, touch 4 things, and she was doing that because I was getting anxiety watching her, it's just so funny how to ground you and just to like bring you back into the room, right? That was
Amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Amazing.
because anxiety is all about, you just continue to spin and you convince yourself that you're dying. You convince
Right.
yourself that you're having a heart attack. Well, you just have to figure out some way to ground yourself and tell yourself it's okay. You're
Right.
going to be okay. You've been through this before. You know it's just a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These flipping writers, I'm telling you.
So
I don't know how
good.
to not see them as deities, Like, I just don't understand how, and how much they've predicted things, and how much they've written things that air on the date that it's actually happening in real life. Just like this
We just have a
crazy
magic 8-ball in the writer's room and we just shake it and we
I
ask
think
questions.
so.
Well,
It's just
in this
crazy.
episode specifically, I forget, somebody tweeted it today, but they said that this was written in the time that the Harvey Weinstein stuff came out. So your speech specifically was, I mean, really, it's still, it's so nail on the head for what is continuing to happen now in the industry, but to have it be during that time,
Yeah.
I'm sure in your delivery,
Crazy.
Yeah.
it must have been wild.
Crazy. I literally, I'm hoarding scripts from all the seasons because they're going to have conversations, there's conversations that I'm going to have in the future with my kids.
Right.
I'm like, let me.
Oh, sure.
Oh, thank you, Joanna, for this. I've learned so flipping much. I just, because I love my family and I come from a lovely family, but we weren't very communicative about things that difficult subjects. We kind of just like, put that under the rug there. And now I've learned it's an education about how I want, my kids to be in the world and what I want them to know and how I don't want them to be ashamed of, things, and just the whole show has just changed my life. It really has.
And just like the sex positivity that your characters model too with their kids,
Yeah.
without crossing a line.
Right.
That's wild, actually, too.
Amazing. When Jesus was like, can you call my doctor and ask if it's okay if I have sex?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm trying to think of my mom, like saying this to my mom.
That would never.
And all the stuff on the table during the LGBTQ sex ed seminar.
Right.
Some toys out of Google.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Beautiful.
And some fruit and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables.
Yes, you're right.
Big fans of produce, the queer community. That's right. I think that that is being modeled on the whole, that parents who are coming of age now are more wanting and open to have these conversations instead of sweep it under the rug, like you said.
Yeah.
And I think the characters are modeling that as well.
Yeah. That's cool.
It is wonderful. Actually, I went to a podcast recently. It was for Here and Now. HBO was having a campaign, and my friend spoke at it. And one of the stories was a woman who found out she couldn't have children, and she's fostering a baby right now. Baby Kane. I was like, and she was in her speech. She's talking about not knowing what to do and how to love and this and that. And afterwards, I spoke to her and I was like, if you want to know what to do, watch a show called The Fosters. Like, I've heard of it. I'm like, it will change your life. You will love that baby twice as 100 times more. And she's like, really? I'm like, do it. And I'm like, you'll be great, honey.
No,
Just watch it.
We need to come here every week.
I know.
An ego stroke. No, really, like, it's genuine. And I said this to you last week after last week's episode, that I never came from an ignorant place on any of these topics, but I have learned so much in the past 5 years. And it's really exciting to hear that from you as well, that you have learned so much. And I hear it from people on Twitter all the time. And it's very exciting because some people that watch the show are not exposed to the things that these characters are going through. So hopefully, everyone that's watched has come out a better person. I know I have.
Absolutely.
And I love there's not just one viewpoint. I mean, we always kind of tackle the other side and the other point of view and the other point of view, because otherwise it would be very unfair and people would be kind of like turned off about. But I think they do a really good job of being 360 about stuff, because there's more than one way of seeing things, and we've got to come to an understanding.
Absolutely.
You guys have been brilliant about showing cause, effect, and resolution, and then what comes from it. Because all the negative reaction, I think that's what's so important as well. How do you tackle that?
Yeah.
And then you guys just kill it.
Yeah. Something also that I appreciate is that each character has such distinct history with the other characters, and it's always different.
Yeah.
So Callie has all these siblings, but she had this experience with Jude and other experiences with Brandon and Mariana. And so when we had the Callie and Jude scene, it was a reminder of like, oh yeah, we haven't got this a while, and it felt so nice.
it
Their
was.
bonding moments.
Yeah.
Because they have had intense history. And I feel like we're like checking these like off the list before we say goodbye to the show.
That's
We
what
really are.
Yeah.
We sort of had a list in the writers' room, and we
had to.
We had to.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to everything. That's the other thing. We had so many other things. Oh, go Sherri.
What things did you not get to?
No, because we'll hear all about it.
yeah,
If I start
yeah.
listing
You're opening a
stuff.
can of
Yeah,
worms.
exactly. But I will say, when
Long
Peter and I wrote
series.
the pilot, we developed this web of relationships, and that was very important to us from the first episode, to really be able to draw lines between every character to make sure that it felt like a spider web, and it just continued to build and build and build and build and build
Yeah.
over the last 5 seasons.
I just think with other shows with like, let's say like 5 siblings, they kind of just all treat each other like siblings. And it's
Yeah.
like a general melange.
Right.
Malaise, what am I trying for?
Melange.
Melange. Yeah, just the history just was so present, and I love that. And so when we have Callie and Jude go to the grave, Donald, check him off the list.
There he goes.
Shed a tear. I was
Yeah.
like, we have not seen him, and he's
And
happy.
he's happy.
Yeah.
He's had a hard life.
And I love what Callie said. I think everyone's been sad long enough.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people forget that they feel like they're obligated to feel the pain, like they're bound, like they're connected to it. And it's like you're allowed to let go.
That is profound because we get used to the sadness and we're like, oh, I'll just stick with this.
Yeah.
I don't want to change.
Yeah.
But that's enough about me.
And it became
so funny.
Stop it. Also, like Natalie, she's rocking her haircut stuff. I love just like the
saw that
happy
also.
ending that Donald gets.
Yes.
Oh, I have to ask about a character though. We are gonna have a send off for Anna, right? We're gonna have her come back this season or no?
Oh, Anna.
Maybe not.
That's probably one of the people.
Oh
that
no.
didn't get to.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. And what about Kerr? I need some Kerr Smith back.
I know.
Not getting Kerr.
We're gonna see Kerr again.
Thank you.
We talk about Anna. We sort of learn some stuff about Anna. So yeah,
Okay.
So there will not be
gotcha.
another wedding before the series is over.
we'll see.
Well, you know what? You know what
Who
though?
else would get married?
It's okay because I'm saying it's okay. I've made the decision because we have got Anna's happy ending.
Yeah.
For this
true.
woman who could have been a guest star on a series of a TV,
Yeah.
she's had this beautiful character arc.
That's true.
And it's not what we ever imagined.
Really?
Quite frankly, we met the actress and we fell in love with her, and we really saw the connection between her and Cierra, between Alex and Cierra, and we just really started to write to it, and
Oh.
it just grew from there, you know. And so it wasn't ever a plan of ours to really go down that road.
Interesting.
Wow.
Well, there's a huge payoff.
Yeah.
I think we were joking too from a couple early season that she could end up with Mike and they could all be tied together. So we got that.
You got that.
Unless they break up.
Are we gonna see Rosie again?
We're not. Rosie's on a fantastic show on
Killing
Showtime
it.
now.
Stepmom. Wait,
She-
stepmom and Smilf.
Smilf.
Milf,
Yeah.
I like to.
Killing it.
When I was in New York the last time a couple of weeks ago, I got to go hang with Rosie and watch one of the episodes with her, and it was the coolest thing ever because she's so proud of that show and she's killing
She's
it.
great.
She's killing it.
I love her so
I
much.
love that she's just a
Yeah.
girl from the Bronx. That's just so cool to me.
She always will be.
She always
Yeah.
will be.
That's true. In the best way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I think too we've seen Callie have such massive growth, while also at times it's stalled and it's been slow because her past like warranted that, right?
Yeah.
We didn't want this massive like transformation butterfly swan story from her because that's not enjoyable
It's
to
not
watch.
real. It's also not
Right.
real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think something that we've talked about in the past is that when Peter Page was here, he was saying that somebody who's gone through everything that Callie had, it's not that most people don't come back from that.
Yeah.
So for the sake of the show, you know, she has to.
Yeah.
And thankfully, because that's the show. But that I think that's always in the back of my mind, at least.
Well, we all have imprints, right? From very young, and it's
On pieces of paper.
On pieces of paper. But it's I think it's really hard to work through some of those massive imprints, and
Totally.
she had so many of them. So
She's so young. I mean, how many mistakes do you make when you're, from this a perfect family and perfect, circumstances? You still make mistakes as a teenager, and then going through everything she's been through. Amazing, she's even alive.
Yeah.
At this
Yeah.
point.
Well, thank God she was adopted into a family that allowed her to do the work.
And also, she had a cop as a mom, which was helpful.
Seriously. Just-
Yeah.
Yes.
I I know I keep thinking of Callie with her little beat up face saying, so you're the real son. And you're the two, like,
you're the Dykes.
You're the Dykes. I mean, think about that.
Oh
She's
my
come a long way
gosh,
from saying
yes.
that to you two to where she is now.
That was
To
actually
dating a trans man.
right. That was actually beautiful in the beginning of the previously on the Fosters when we got to see those scenes of her from when she was young. Just I mean, she still is young, but just
Just wait for the finale.
oh my god.
wait.
I don't know if I'm gonna
don't do a collage or something. Don't do like
Just
Doing a,
wait.
a flashback only, not a fast forward. Just kidding. Yeah, also, you reminded me of something, calling them the Dykes. When we had Sherri here, season 1, I jokingly said that you were the femme one and Steph was the butch one, which is rude, but also you're both butch, you're both femme, and that is more realistic because those stereotypes are reductive. And it would have been really easy to write these two characters to be stereotypes when that's not as interesting.
Right.
So I take that back officially. You're welcome.
Jeff, that was gross.
Wow, thank you.
That was kind of brought up with the Annie Potts in the bar. Her being like, somebody needs to be the aggressor, somebody
someone
needs to be
the
the
man.
the
She's like,
man.
"Mom, don't need to be banned." Okay, you know what I mean. The
It's
aggressor.
hard. We live in a world of stereotypes, and people perpetuate stereotypes. And hopefully, one day, it will not be looking at this person and sizing them up, looking at that person and sizing them up.
I get called a dyke.
Because you have short hair?
Yeah, and viciously too. And I was like, no, whatever.
Be proud of that.
Yeah,
that's the
seriously.
coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I want to be
It was
called a
just
dyke.
funny.
I'll call you a dyke.
All right.
Yeah, labels are terrifying.
They are.
Also, Laverne Cox says the great irony of her life is that before she transitioned, everyone called her a girl, and then after she transitioned, everyone called her a man.
Yeah.
It's people just look for what is most hateful to attack
Well,
you.
it's hard. I mean, as humans, we're trying to make sense of our world, and so we always just try to default to what's simple and okay, let's put this in this box and this, so I can move on with life, and this makes sense, and this they always try to kind of distill things down to make things simple, and people are not simple. So as soon as we figured that out, we're going to be on our way. And I feel like the Fosters has done a lot toward advancing that, idea. Hopefully, people take a little deeper look. People take a little second look, and
And I think that's why marriage equality has been such a struggle for us, is because straight couples who don't necessarily agree with it look at it and say, that does not look like my marriage,
Yeah.
but that's okay. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
It's just funny
Why
that
are we
people
so
can't just
passionate
go
about
that. Some people like men who are men, women who why can't that just be a thing? Some people have blue eyes, some people have, I mean, I'm being really simplistic here, but it just seems like
But it is that
there's
simple.
room. It is
Yeah.
that simple.
The millennials that I speak to, the way they're you can tell how natural it is for them not to understand when people think otherwise.
Yeah.
That's great.
Even in their behavior and the way that they are, especially millennial boys around gay boys,
Yeah.
I always pay attention to that because I see the difference between my other friends, where they make sure that if something happens like this, that the guy moves his hand, where the other one's embracing,
Yes, absolutely.
but they don't think twice.
Generation Z is even beyond millennials, is the coolest generation, I think, of our lifetime.
Yes.
It's just, they are all cool and fluid, and it's just about friendships and
love and
hang
energy
time.
and vibes. It's
And it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from.
Did you guys see Love? Oh, yeah, it's not out yet. Love, Simon.
No.
but I saw
that
with Nick
movie.
Robinson.
I read the book.
Yeah.
I love
See
the
that
actor.
stinking movie.
Can't wait.
I'm obsessed with it already, and I've not
Amazing.
seen it. Yeah.
Oh.
I got a
Yeah.
sneak peek.
I heard you guys had fun
Amazing.
yesterday, too.
Yeah, it was really good. Really good.
I think that it's exciting to have people exposed to this complex relationship that just happens to be between two women, and for them to be able to see sort of the ups and downs of a relationship that just happens to be between two women, and how it's not something that we talk about on the show anymore because it's just between two women. It doesn't matter. And we were I was thinking the other day, I saw the new season of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy came out, and that was what I was exposed to when I was growing up, and that was sort of how I learned.
Was
and
it
how
the original Queer Eye?
Yeah, and how I was able to sort of, I had a gay friend who I'm still best friends with, and he came out to me when he was 13.
Wow.
And I know.
Good for him.
Talk about knowing what you want.
Yeah.
Still, I'm you are amazing. But that is how I learned. So it's exciting to see, that was sort of very in a stereotypical way.
Yeah.
That's how I was exposed to it. And now for me and for everyone else, seeing a relationship for what a relationship is is great.
Yeah, we have very passionate fans, as we know. And, there have been a lot of moments on our show where Steph and Lena struggle. And sometimes they aren't connecting, and sometimes they aren't getting along or seeing eye to eye. And that was probably one of the most important things we talk about on a daily basis in the writer's room, is to make sure that we do put that forward. We don't want the perfect marriage on screen, because that's not real.
Exactly.
And we want this to be a real, true representation of what a real marriage and relationship
and
is.
I get the feeling of like, I want this relationship so bad. Don't mess with it. Don't make them fight. Like, I get it. Like, they're so invested, which makes me so happy. But it's like, you guys, this is good. This is good that you show us that we're just like any other, straight couples fight all the time and stay married and are married and have kids. And why can't we have that normalcy as well, where we fight, we come back together, we fight, we come back together, and it's life.
Yeah.
Growing
Will you put the
pains,
mic up
absolutely.
just closer to your mouth? I feel like too selfishly as an actor, it's like, don't you also want the drama, right? You don't want just happy times.
Well, that wouldn't be fun to watch.
Right,
what I mean?
no,
It's like
it'd be
we need a
boring.
little something.
I do like that
Yeah.
though. I feel like what I was exposed to growing up was always they always focused on like the sex part of the community rather than just
The life part.
The life part. That's what makes you. I think that's what'll make someone accept it more, or like be comfortable or see it as human. Because you're gonna be uncomfortable because people are uncomfortable when anyone's doing that.
Well, because then you recognize yourself in that
Exactly,
relationship.
you identify yourself
no
with
matter
that person and
who you
everything.
are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, in terms of marriage equality, it got passed into law and the public supported it when we stopped framing it as 2 men and 2 women deserve the right.
Yeah.
And like, don't you want them to be doing, like, get married and like have sex? To love is love.
Right.
And this is about 2 people loving each other, and it's just changed the public perception.
Yeah.
I think it was Louis C.K. who said, gay people have the right to be miserable too. Like, let them get married.
Yes.
In the cynical view of things, like.
But
that was
it's
my
true.
favorite.
I mean, how many straight couples f it up for everybody,
Right.
and that's supposed to be marriage?
Exactly.
Right?
A lot
Bradley's
of them.
like, preach.
Yeah.
The majority.
It's ridiculous, and it's so funny too because when it comes to Steph and Lena, I don't, and I'm so thank you God for it. I don't see it as a lesbian couple anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what I can't wait. I'm like, is this what the new generation is looking at now?
Yeah.
It's just the couple.
And when we first came out, it was always always hearing the media stuff, the press releases,
Like
whatever.
your log
This
line.
Interracial
And somehow
lesbian
I
couple
never
every
hear
time.
the interracial anymore. That was gone after
Yeah.
like season 1B or whatever. Like, that's gone. And now, and then I hear the discourse on Twitter, and it's like, Steph and Lena deserve it. And it's not, it's not necessarily just from gay, followers. It's just from everyone. Like, they just talk about us like a relationship, and why did you do that, and Lena shouldn't do that, and just talk just like you would any other relationship.
Yes.
So it's kind of like falling away, all of this
Yeah.
stuff. I feel like a part of that. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
In
It's so
5 years'
beautiful.
time. That's
Right.
so crazy.
Yeah.
In 5 years' time, but also in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
If you
Right.
think about it, you know.
It's very true.
But that's
The
you got to start
conversation is
somewhere.
different.
Yeah.
And I think too, because you're focusing on such major issues right now, DACA and Dreamers, and
Yeah.
there's like abortions, like everything, every issue, actually,
yeah.
literally every issue we've dealt with. It's harder to then focus on like the labels and the like identities of the characters when it's such a massive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good distraction.
But then it's also, we balance it with, oh, I have a zit, or you better do that laundry. And then it's like, it brings it back to like, this is just life, This is just life.
This is gonna sound weird, but one of my favorite episodes in favorite moments in tonight's episode is when you walk in and you pick up a bunch of laundry on Jesus's chair and you throw it in the hamper and then you sit down and you have this real, honest heart-to-heart with him.
Yeah.
And I love how messy our show can be
Yeah,
sometimes, where
absolutely.
it is about the laundry, it is about the
Yes.
junk and
Yeah.
the mess of living in that big house.
We don't ever leave that behind.
yeah. So you directed this episode. Was that your idea?
I think so.
so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
God, I mean, we come
But I think I said like 3 words and Sherri's like, got it. And she just walked in and she's like, it's like, it's
so
just second
mother,
nature
so
to her.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful when you see true dynamics, something that really happens because
Yeah.
you feel it,
Yeah.
you see it.
Now here's one thing, because we have like about 7 minutes left with you guys.
No.
I know. I want to stay
It
here
goes so
forever.
fast.
right.
It's like 5 years of our show.
The epicenter of the entire series to me is the house, but not only the house, but the kitchen table. So, can you talk about emotions filming that last scene at the kitchen table? What was going through your mind without giving any spoilers away or anything?
Oh my gosh, it was crazy. I mean, we were all like just taking pictures and, eating that chicken like 100,000 times, but just it was hard, because again, I kept trying to steal my heart and just go, no, this is fine. We're gonna come back next month and do this again. It's gonna be great. But Joanna was like, let's get together. This is the last, such and such of the.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't avoid it sinking in, and it was emotional, and it was great. And those scenes have traditionally been really grueling because it's 3 hours around this table eating turkey.
Angle.
Yes,
Shot.
Now we looked at it in a different way, and I just ate that turkey with a smile on my face, and just I just love those people.
I think someone called it the Last Supper.
The Last Supper.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really emotional.
Really emotional.
Yeah, it's been. I didn't think I would be this emotional at the
gosh.
end. But we really do have a family.
Amazing. Amazing.
And you guys have done so much. I've never followed a show from the beginning to end before, and so it's like sad because like it's a little escape every time you watch it.
Yeah.
Don't cry. Don't cry too.
And to recognize or to recommend it to other people, not for a fandom reason, but because it's a show of importance, is really special. That rarely happens, where it's like, you have to watch the show. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen. To being like, no, you have to watch the show. It's important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
that's special, like 5 years in, for it to be that.
I
The
think
people, the people that come up to me and in the airports or in wherever, Trader Joe's, whatever, and you feel it in their soul. And I'm just like, oh, I love your show, but it's like, you guys have changed my life.
Yeah.
I can't. No, it's. I'm still processing it. I really am.
I think the ironic thing is, I feel like we're just starting to find our audience. And 5 seasons in, I think more and more people are finding the show and watching the show, and because I hear about it way more now than I did even a year or two ago.
Totally.
And that's what's hard a little bit. I would keep going for 10 more years if I could.
A lot bit, not a little bit.
A lot of it.
Yeah, and I just respect hard work. So I see like the thought that goes into the show, the thought to say like, hey, we're in a crazy presidency now that we weren't in when we started. How can we address dreamers and immigrants and et cetera, et cetera? And it obviously there's a lot of work and thought that's behind it, and it shows, it pays off. We're almost out of time. Let's give her grace. She gives proxy to Brandon, and Brandon accepts it. The mom is mad, and yet she explains her side, and it's like, oh, darn it. We can't disagree with her. True Foster's fashion. And then in the preview for next week, we see Logan and Mariana.
Oh, snap.
I can't
Logan
wait.
is back, and it's not
good for a
going
moment
well.
until it's not.
And then next week, we'll talk about Tess's unkind conversation to Mariana.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm interested
Yeah,
in
Tess
what's gonna happen.
Did you just say that?
Get her.
I'm also
Talk to my daughter like
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
And your wife.
I'm also kind of excited to see, I know we saw like flashbacks of Lena and Steph and how that relationship came to be, but I'm excited that we're watching this Tess thing in real time and what's actually happening to her family and sort of, the consequences of her wanting to be herself. It's important stuff because I know that there are people out there probably going through the same thing that she's going through right now. So I'm interested to see what's actually going to happen. And like Mariana, she has just been like loose lips because I don't even know if she might even tell Lena and Steph like, well, Tess said this to me and this and this and this because, she's been like a sassy monster, but I don't know.
She's our little Nancy Drew. Like, she knows everything.
She's
She
come
gets
into
into
her
everything.
own. We've talked about that previously, but
Yeah,
like
she's a
I am
meddler.
excited for next week.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the thing we love is that you don't make the characters dumb. Yeah. She sees this thing happen and she reacts like a normal person.
Yes.
Not like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. And she's also part of that younger generation where she's like, no, don't do that. And I love that she says it to you. She's like, I wouldn't let her be her hound mama. And I was like, is no one else thinking that? Because low-key, she's right. When she's feeling experimental.
No, I
was
trust Steph.
It doesn't, but Mariana's right. If I was a daughter, I'd be saying the same thing. Like, I need you to get away from my mom. Thanks.
And I
can
also
figure it
love
out
that
with
they're
someone
having this
else.
conversation while they're making the bed.
Of course.
The parents' bed. Yeah.
Yes.
Those brown sheets.
Yeah.
Oh my god, remember the brown bed skirt? Season
Courtney
6 was the
it wasn't
Lena
brown.
Steph exploring non-monogamy. So, America's maybe not ready for that. What if the spin-off Lena Steph are there with like their new girlfriends?
Oh my gosh, you guys.
And on that note,
Not gonna happen, by the way.
wow, I'm so excited it's gonna happen. On that note, thank you so much for coming back, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thank you guys for being amazing. You covered this show just like with your soul and your heart, and it's amazing. I've never felt such love and support, and you guys dissect the shite out of this thing, and we love you for it.
You know,
And
it's the
also,
last
you
season.
really do feel like family. Like
Yes.
you feel like a part of the body.
Yes.
That means
We all talk about you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Say nice things. Thank you so much. If people want to connect with you on Twitter, is it at Bradley?
At Bradley Bredeweg. Yes.
And at Sherri Saum
Sherri Saum 1 on Twitter and Saum Days on Instagram.
Some days. And I'm at Jeff Masters 1 on Twitter as well.
And I'm at the I'm at the Hotshot Dude on Instagram and Twitter.
Champagne.
I'm at Jillian Leff on Instagram and Twitter. And if you haven't had enough of me, I also have a podcast myself. It's called Boss Please. And it comes out every Wednesday. And we talk to amazing female bosses.
Woo.
And I'm Stephanie Giorgi. You can find me on Twitter at Stephanie Giorgi and on Instagram at @TheStephanieGiorgi.
Fantastic. And the show's off next week. Is that correct?
It is.
Yeah.
We'll be back
See
the
you
following week.
2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.